Hi, my name is Daniel Myers, Developer Relations here at Snowflake, and this is another episode of Powered by Snowflake, where I interview technology leaders who are building businesses and applications on top of Snowflake. Today, I'm excited to be interviewing Paul Sinai, the CEO and founder of ForePaas, a fully automated AI orchestration platform delivered as a service and built on Snowflake. Paul, how are you?
Hi, Daniel. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to share with you what we are doing with our customers and with Snowflake.
Awesome. So, to kick this off, I want to learn more about you and your background on, how did you start this company and why did you start it?
Yeah, in one of my previous jobs, I used to migrate companies' application from on-premise to the cloud using mainly AWS and VMware. And it was back in 2010, 2011 in Europe, which is pretty new, public cloud was still emerging. And this included applications like website, e-commerce apps, and mobile apps. And I worked with engineers who were very good at managing the data, but didn't know how to deploy the application on cloud infrastructure. Business users came to me with their business requirements and had to translate them into technical requirements. We built the extractions, the transforms, the load rules, organized the data, defined how the information would be consumed, because it was not about consuming the data only for PowerPoint or something like that, or just a simple reporting. It was about also creating new apps to create value for their own end users. So even so the use cases were different, the IT problems were always the same. How to make the system scale and how to make the whole solution secure. And I need to reconfigure all the different tools and features inside my entire tech stack to be able to make sure these applications would work on any cloud. So we work on creating a platform which is fully end-to-end and available on the major public cloud provider in Europe and the US, and to help business users, data scientists, data analysts, to create application without the headache about how you manage all the entire infrastructure, and reassuring the IT that you have something which can be scaled and which is secure.
So awesome, Paul. So tell me a little bit more about the vision of ForePaas.
Sure. Yeah, it's actually it's really interesting to see that the data market is evolving a little bit like the web market evolved in the past 20, 30 years. And back in the 90s, probably you have built your website by yourself, the front end, the back end, and everything. And between 2000 and 2010, there were a lot of CMS emerging, and two categories of people who wanted to build their website by themselves, their own tools, their own CMS even, and some others who wanted to create their website faster. They didn't want to build everything each time. And I believe for data, it's exactly the same. We are at the edge of a new era where we are not about building, only data lake and all the data infrastructure. We are at some point, we need to prove that there is value with the data, and you don't want to waste time to build thousands or hundreds of times, the same architecture and take care of the evolution of the different technology. Underlying technology. So it's for me, it's really interesting that the market is evolving very fast in this direction, and I think data is a revolution, maybe bigger than the web, because it's not about only showing to the other what you are doing. It's about bringing more value and creating new products, within an enterprise. So it's very interesting the direction all the data market is taking right now. I think Snowflake is exactly in this direction. Not worry about the infrastructure, which cloud provider you want. Just focus on delivering the value as fast as you can.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And I really, align with the comment that you had around, data is very much a revolution today in the technology space.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting to me as well. Like it's in some ways it's a shift in mindset for a lot of developers today in terms of how you work with, process data within your application, and what that data can be used for and the value of that data.
Exactly.
And so yeah, I couldn't agree more. So as a company, where are you today in terms of stage? Like where what notable customers, things like that, are you working with today to help build out this vision?
Yeah, we work with over 20 large customers and partners, including global 500 companies. We have over 150 users, including data scientists, data engineers, data analysts, developers, and thousands of end users using the web application built by ForePaas all around the world. Each customer manages several projects. This includes different types of analytics and AI use cases across several industries: oil and gas, energy and transportation, construction, manufacturing, logistics, supply chain. There is a lot of use cases. It's unlimited.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, over the next, few years, what are some key goals and initiatives for you individually and for your company?
There is obviously a lot of things to do in this space. It's still AI and data is it's I wouldn't say that it's an emerging market, but I would say that data and AI, especially AI, is just at the beginning of delivering the value and creating more value inside the enterprise. So what we see today is we see a growing demand for multi-cloud AI platform. People doesn't want to be locked into one solution, because all solutions have strengths, and you need to be agile when you want to choose the right solution, because there is hundreds and probably thousands of different use cases within a company. And there is a desperate need for a fast time to value. Too much AI project just failed because we are talking only about the tech stack and not about how you deliver the value to the business. So we are focused on filling this need and acquire more customers and partners that we are preparing our next funding round.
That's exciting. That's exciting. So with that, let's see a demo of this platform in action.
Good. So basically, when you log into the ForePaas platform, this is what you see. Basically, what we're looking at here is what we call different data plants. What we call a data plant is actually a full cloud service installation, as well as a database installation. And then you'll use this to build your project and also deploy it. So let me show you quickly how to build a new data plant. So we are multi-cloud, which means we support a whole bunch of cloud services, including AWS, Azure, DigitalOcean, Google Cloud, and a whole bunch of other cloud infrastructures in Europe. We're going to pick AWS as an example and hit next. And if we want to use Snowflake, here we go, as our database, we'll just pick Snowflake and go to next. Just need to give it a name. I'll call it Terry Demo for now. You can also decide how much power, if you will, which includes RAMs, a CPU you want to use for your project. We'll just keep it at 16 for now. And same thing with the database, how big you want your Snowflake database to be. There's really an unlimited number of storage space that you can use. We'll just pick 50 gigabytes to start. The nice thing about our application is it'll tell you basically as your project grows if you need more data storage space, CPU, and so on. So here I have my configuration. It's a Snowflake on AWS, and I just need to hit confirm. The nice thing about the application is that it does everything automatically for you in the background, so you don't need to log in into AWS or into Snowflake and configure the instances. The system will do it automatically for you. And this takes just a few minutes, so it's still building, and you'll see as I go through the demo that it'll let me know that the instance is ready. So while this is happening, I'm just going to open a data plant that we've already built. Well, you can see here, this is the main interface for the data plant. You see the whole data pipeline and the AI pipeline, from the data extraction part to the data management, the configuration of the database of Snowflake. You can build your queries. You can build your machine learning algorithms from this interface, and then present the information through either APIs or through an application, a web app that you would build using our app builder. So let's go into Data Manager, and I'll show you what this looks like. In this demo here, we're connected to 9 different data sources. We already have about 44 primary tables, 4 data marts, and a bunch of virtual attributes that we calculate on the fly as the data is being imported into Snowflake. If we want to add a new data source, so we have 9 data sources here, I just hit new source, and what appears here is what we call the ForePaas marketplace, or it's basically a tool shed that shows you a bunch of connectors that are pre-built for you that we can pick and choose from. The nice thing about this is you can tap into a whole bunch of ERP systems, CRM systems, but also external systems like a Dropbox or a Facebook, Google Analytics, even a Hotspot, mail systems. And you can also use Snowflake as one of your data sources as well. So if I wanted to use Snowflake, I would just click here, and Snowflake would be one of my data sources. Once you're actually tapped into your data sources, the system is smart enough to look at the metadata from the data sources and will suggest a schema for Snowflake. So here in this example, it's calculated and created a few tables that it's suggesting that you can use for your Snowflake database. You can actually start moving things around if you want, like linking tables together, or even editing some of the tables themselves, and even build some data marts if you want to in your Snowflake database. And then once you're ready, once you have your schema, you just say you hit the save and build button, and the platform will configure Snowflake in the background for you. And what that means is you're basically ready to go and build your data models. If you want to use some machine learning algorithms, we make this very easy as well. And basically, the system shows you a complete what we call the AI pipeline, which is goes from the data set to training your model, picking models, tuning them, selecting the best performing model, and then deploying it on your cloud system. In this case, in the example would be AWI. This model is actually being built as I'm building it. It's actually being configured in the Snowflake database. I'll show you really quickly some of these steps. As most of you probably know, the way you train your models is you pick 80% of your model for training and 20% for testing. Through this interface, it's going to ask you to pick your prediction value. Here we're predicting train stations to be overcrowded based on some input data, which is the X values, which could be holidays, time of the year, temperature, day of the week, and so on. The way I actually pick my models is actually really easy. Again, the systems is going to offer me different choices through the ForePaas marketplace. And here it's providing a bunch of different models that I can pick and choose from. So random forest, decision trees, gradient boosting models, just Bernoulli, if you guys are familiar with that. So I just pick one of these and enter it into my system, and it'll use it basically pretty automatically. Then I can pick how I want to score my different models, and also let the system know that I want to, for example, run the scoring over a 7-day period, and the system will pick the best performing model. Basically, what it's doing is looking at actual data and comparing it to what the system is predicting, and the model that predicts the closest is the one that we're going to pick. And once you're ready to go, you basically go to the deployment, hit play, and the system will deploy this new machine learning algorithm onto the Snowflake database in the cloud provider that I picked. Just quickly here, if you want to show these predictions through a web app, let me show you how we would do this. We have a pretty sophisticated application builder. Not only allows you to build a complete web interface, but it also manages all of the CPUs, the memories, the data storage, everything you need to make your application work. As you're building the application, you're going to pick different widgets, if you will. So again, this is the ForePaas marketplace or tool shade that comes up again here. And if I want to build some charts, some dynamic parameters, I would pick one of these. I can pick some menus, toaster menus, Google Charts, animation, even some maps. So it's pretty sophisticated. Let me show you quickly what an application looks like. This is a full-fledged application that one of our partners has built using our platform. And again, this is a web application, fully functional. What they're actually doing in this particular application is monitoring the price of real estate in Paris over a specific period of time, and showing the results through different graphs, including this map over here that shows you, the more expensive apartments versus the cheaper ones. And they've also used some machine learning to kind of predict where the prices of the apartments in Paris are going to grow over time, and how they're going to increase over time. And they also, based on historical information, actually are predicting the demand for a specific real estate in the Paris area.
Awesome. This is an incredibly powerful platform, and thank you for showing this. So, Paul, as the platform, has been growing over time with features and things like that, what are some of the challenges that you and the team have had to overcome, and how did Snowflake kind of fit into that picture?
The challenges that we had and we have, and we probably continue to grow, is to adapt all the technology behind in function of the different use cases. For instance, managing streaming data, very time-sensitive data for some use cases requires to adjust a lot of parameters between the different components. And I think it's the reason why the end-to-end is powerful, is because you have all the components already connected all together. So you can automate a lot of reconfiguration. Where Snowflake is helping us is we can rely on a very highly scalable platform, not only for just store the data, but only to manage the different kind of workloads for streaming data application, or for very, very large data sets, for AI workloads, but also for more simple analytics workloads. So there is a lot of different use cases because a lot of companies are not at the same stage of awareness about AI, and some of them are just discovering the data they have. And it's important to have a system which is very flexible. So Snowflake is really helping us to solve two problems. The first one is the multi-cloud. We didn't need to rely on a data warehousing solution which is tied to one cloud provider. And I think it's very important because enterprises want to be able to switch from one cloud to another one, but also be able to use the different services that each cloud provider offers. So Snowflake gives us the capability to leverage this flexibility. The second part is Snowflake is not only about storing the data. It's an entire platform we can leverage to also share the data within the company, but also outside the company. So within the marketplace we have, the challenge we are going to work on with Snowflake is how we can help customers to leverage their data set or other data set within the organization or outside the organization, thanks to the data sharing services that Snowflake offers.
That's really cool. So you mentioned, scaling as one area, the data sharing capabilities that Snowflake has, and the multi-cloud aspect of Snowflake as well. So that's awesome. How did you, when looking at the landscape of Snowflake and others, what was the decision-making process for you and your company, and what was that criteria when choosing a data cloud?
The process of evaluation, the first thing is we started to check how the integration will be done within our platforms, which means that for data processing, because we have built a data processing engine in Python, and we wanted to leverage what we already have done, and we want to offer the flexibility to choose the storage engine independently of the use case. So we started to check what is the throughput in terms of insertion, how we can batch insert a lot of data or just a small data set. So we tested different size of data set. The second thing was obviously the read pass. So check what are the performances, a large data set, small data set, huge query, very complicated query, simpler queries. And the third thing is being able to use the same features across the cloud providers. And I think it is the main reason and where we ask to have the highest score when we are evaluating a solution. It's to be able to run in the same way on any cloud. And obviously, Snowflake offers exactly the same experience independently of the cloud provider.
For our viewers today, where can they go online to learn more about you and your company?
Sure. You can go check out our website, www.forepaas.com. You can sign up for a free trial. You can test drive the platform. We will be very happy to help you if you have any question, to drive you through the platform and all the features. There is dozens of different microservices that you can leverage on several clouds, and you can use Snowflake inside directly, even in the free tier plan. You can use the sandbox, which runs on Snowflake. So it's just don't hesitate to give us your feedback and ask any question, test drive the platform.
Great. And for everybody here, if you want to learn more how you can build your application on Snowflake, check out developers.snowflake.com. Again, my name is Daniel, Developer Relations here at Snowflake, and this has been an episode of Powered by Snowflake. See you next time.